Hi, my name is Richard Walker from Peter Cox. I'm here today at a property in Bramley near Guildford to carry out a waterproof test to prove the efficiency of Thermotek as an external water repellent. The brickwork of the house is a standard fair face brick property, and we're going to apply a Carston tube to the wall for 15 minutes to find out how much water is absorbed into the brickwork, and then return 3 weeks later to carry out some further tests after we've treated the panels of brickwork to determine how effective the treatments have been. Right, so we've got the Carston tube set up now. This is the tube. It has a graduated scale from 0 to 4. There's a space at the bottom for the reservoir of water, and we seal around the flange of the Carston tube with a sealant. I want to choose a fair representation of the property, a good average area of brickwork which will fix the tube against it and making sure we get a waterproof seal. So let's do that now. So firstly, I'm going to insert water into the Carston tube, trying to avoid airlocks as much as possible, and we'll be able to determine how absorbent the brick panel is. There's a little airlock at the bottom of the tube there. See if we can remove that. We can tease that out of the tube. Will be able to give us a much more accurate result. So that's removing the air bubble. We'll just fill that tube up again with water at the top of the graduation, and this represents a 90 miles per hour wind and rain situation, so quite extreme, but it will give us some indication of the absorbency. So we are filled now, and the time of the test is going to be started now. We'll say that's 20 to 1. In fact, it's probably 90 minutes to 1, and we will revisit this from time to time to see what the absorbency level is. Already we can see to the side of the test, and we're only literally 2 minutes into the test, but you can see where we have water coming to the outside of the Carston tube. It's a very good seal as the water, and there's some water coming percolating through the base of the mortar joint, etc., and below, and you can see the level is dropping rapidly in just a very short period of time, less than 5 minutes. We are halfway down the graduation scale from 0 down to 4. We're already down to the Mark 3. So very absorbent masonry, and I would doubt if this would get to the full term of the test, which is 15 minutes, but we'll wait and see. We are now at 5 minutes into the test, and the water's gone down to the 4 graduation mark on the Carston tube and is virtually empty. So we'll continue with the test, but it's very rapid within 5 minutes. We're now at 8 minutes into the test. All the water has gone through the graduated tube, and the only water left is in the bottom of the Carston tube there. It's a small amount in the base, in the circular part of the base of the tube, and we are halfway through the experiment. We've come to the end of the test now. 15 minutes have elapsed, and there's still a small amount of water left in the bottom reservoir of the Carston tube, but the test is to indicate from the graduation scale from 0 to 4 how quickly the water has escaped from there, and that was certainly within 15 minutes it emptied. And what I propose to do now is return in 3 weeks time and carry out a test on the same panel of brickwork after this has been treated with Thermotek, and we're going to apply the Thermotek now onto the wall. So we're back on the 3rd of December. We've carried out the treatment to the area of brickwork. It was a section about 600 by 600 millimeters, and I'll show you the close-up of the white paint mark on the wall in a moment, because this will indicate where we did the first test. I've fixed some of the sealant around the back of the Carston tube for the second test, so let's see how efficient it's going to be. I've attached the Carston tube onto the brickwork. This is the white mark where we had the tube before. There's an indicator. So very carefully introduce water into the Carston tube for a second time, and very carefully to make sure we don't get any air bubbles. Take up the water right to the top of the graduation mark, that's 0 on the wall, and we just, there we go, slightly above the 0 mark. Got my colleague with a watch, so we'll just show it on the camera. It's at 25 minutes to 3 on the 3rd of December, and we'll monitor that now for 15 minutes to see how the... So we've just gone about 6 minutes into the test now, and there's been no movement of the water in the Carston tube. You can see the line here just below the fluted section, and there's been no absorption of water into the brickwork whatsoever, which is very encouraging. Bearing in mind this is representing a 90 mile per hour wind and rain situation, so it's a very exacting trial of the permeability of the brickwork, so it indicates the Thermotek is doing a good sound job. But we'll wait till the full 50 minutes of the test. That's what we did on the first part, and see where the test ends up. So we're 10 minutes into the test now, just gone 2:45, and there's been no movement on the Carston tube whatsoever. We haven't even come down below the fluting section onto the 0 graduation, so that's 10 minutes into the test with no movement, so holding up pretty well so far. Well, here we are, we're at the end of the test now. We've gone to the full 15 minutes at 10 to 3, and there's been ever such a slight drop. You can see the meniscus of the water level just almost touching the top of the 0. It was probably about 3 millimeters higher than that 15 minutes ago, where the fluted section of the Carston tube goes into the straight section, but virtually 0 absorption into the brickwork, and it's certainly passed the test with flying colours. So it does illustrate the performance of the material. In 3 weeks since it was treated, the improvement has been vast, and certainly would recommend a treatment of this property with the material, and it will improve the water repellency no end. What I want to show you now is briefly the water absorption of the wall before it was treated. So a guy's going to apply some water onto the wall. You'll see how the water just absorbs and soaks straight in. There's no real beading of the water or running down the wall. That's great, Guy, thank you. Mark is there, you can see. So Gary, if you want to apply some water on there now, you can see the water is running down the wall, beading, and drip marks all the way down the wall like so, rather than just being absorbed. So again, a good visual indicator of the success of the treatment.